What if the very habit that keeps your kitchen running smoothly is the same one quietly draining your energy as you age? What if saving that extra portion, just to be practical, is actually forcing your digestion to work harder than it should? And what if the one organ in your body that controls your blood sugar, your daily vitality, and your long-term health, is silently taking the hit, without ever sending you a single warning signal? It starts with a quiet worry. One you never really say out loud. You wake up, and your joints feel stiffer than the day before. Your morning coffee barely touches the fatigue anymore. That dull ache after a heavy meal just sits there, refusing to fade the way it used to. You brush it off, because you have always been strong. But lately, you catch yourself wondering, how long can you keep pushing before something finally gives? That fear isn't really about pain. It's about losing your independence. It's about missing simple moments with your grandchildren, because your body quietly decided it was too tired to keep up. You try to keep moving, because stopping feels like surrender. You want to stay sharp. You want to stay in control of your own days. And in the middle of all that quiet anxiety, you return to the one place that still feels predictable. Your kitchen. You cook to feel useful. You save leftovers to be practical. You stretch every dollar. You hate waste. And you tell yourself that warming up yesterday's plate is just a small, harmless step to get through a busy week. But that small step has a cost. And your pancreas is the one paying it. The pancreas is a silent worker. It doesn't complain. It doesn't send sharp alarms. It just keeps filtering, balancing, and breaking down your food, while you go about your life. Because it stays so quiet, we miss the early signs, until the damage has already built up over years of small, repeated habits. As we age, our recovery slows down. Our natural healing rhythm changes. And the same meal you handled easily in your 30s, now forces your digestive system to fight a quiet war it was never meant to handle every single day. That war leaves behind invisible residue. Residue that stacks up with every reheated plate, sitting heavy in your system, asking your body to sort out compounds it no longer recognizes as food. Have you ever pulled a container from the fridge, warmed it up without a second thought, and quietly wondered if that quick choice could be doing more harm than you realize? Most of us were only ever taught one thing: don't waste food. Cover it. Chill it. Warm it when you're hungry. But heat is a powerful force. When you cook something, you change its chemical makeup. When you heat it again, you change it all over again. For certain everyday foods, that second round of heat turns gentle nutrients into stubborn compounds. Compounds that slow your digestion, flatten your energy by 2 in the afternoon, and leave your pancreas carrying a heavy load it was never designed to handle alone. And here is the part that changes everything. Your body does not process heat-altered leftovers the same way it did 20 years ago. Your digestive enzymes move slower. Your gut lining grows more sensitive. And the tiny inflammatory sparks that used to fade overnight, now linger for days, quietly asking your immune system to step in, again and again. Here is the truth nobody puts on a warning label. The real danger is never in the fresh food itself. It is in what the second round of heat pulls out of it. That invisible shift, that's exactly why your energy keeps dipping. Why your stomach feels tight for no clear reason. And why that heavy, sluggish feeling keeps returning, long after the meal is over. And here is what makes this harder to ignore. The very first food on this list is probably sitting in your fridge right now, wrapped neatly, waiting for tomorrow's lunch. It might be the exact reason your digestion feels unpredictable, your afternoons feel so heavy, and your body has been working overtime for months, without your knowledge. Before you even open the container, you need to hear what happens the moment the heat hits it a second time. Because what's inside isn't just yesterday's dinner. It's a chemical trap, waiting to close. The first item on this list is probably wrapped in plastic or foil in your fridge right now. It looks harmless. It smells familiar. And for decades, it has been a trusted part of your weekly routine. But when you pull it out and warm it for a second time, something invisible happens. The heat doesn't just make it hot again. It activates compounds that formed during the first cook, compounds that have been sitting dormant ever since. And those compounds don't just sit quietly in your stomach. They travel straight into your bloodstream, looking for tissue that is already under stress. And your pancreas is one of the most sensitive places they can land. Think about leftover bacon. Think about sliced deli meats you warm for a quick sandwich. Think about grilled chicken or sausages you saved from Sunday's cookout. All of them share the same hidden risk: the moment they meet heat a second time. These foods already carry heavy salts and fats that take longer to break down. But when they are cooked at high temperatures, especially grilled or browned, and then warmed up again, those same proteins and fats shift into forms that act like interference signals. They scramble the quiet instructions your digestive system uses to regulate your blood sugar and manage your enzymes. Your pancreas runs on a precise, delicate balance. It releases exactly what your body needs, at exactly the moment it needs it. But when it has to filter a steady stream of heat-altered leftovers, it loses its timing. And as we get older, that disruption doesn't just cause a heavy stomach. It drains your energy. It makes your daily routines feel harder. And it leaves you feeling suddenly weak, hours after a meal you thought was perfectly fine. You might have noticed it already. That heavy drag that settles in around 3 in the afternoon. That unexplained tiredness after a simple meal. That quiet feeling that your body is working twice as hard to do the same job it used to handle without any effort at all. It is not in your head. It is your pancreas asking for a break. Most of us toss leftovers in the microwave, watch the turntable spin, and assume everything is safe once the plate feels warm. But microwaves heat unevenly. They create invisible pockets that stay just warm enough to keep those altered compounds active, without ever reaching the temperature that actually breaks them down. And every time you press that button, you are not just reheating a meal. You are giving that heavy load another chance to linger. The good news? The fix does not require giving up the foods you love. If you want to keep enjoying these foods without the afternoon crash, there is one simple rule that changes everything. Warm them gently, in a covered pan, with just a small splash of water. Let the steam slowly bring the chill off. And stop the moment they are warm. Never let them brown again. That single shift removes the second wave of chemical stress, while keeping every bit of the comfort you rely on. Because the next food on this list hides in plain sight, right behind the very thing you trust to make leftovers taste good again. It is not the meat that creates the real problem this time. It is the oil you use to warm it up. And what happens when that oil meets high heat for a second time, will completely change how you look at every reheated plate you have ever trusted without question. That oil sitting in your container has already been changed, once, by heat. The moment you turn on the microwave or the stove again, it shifts into something your body was never built to process. We do not need to talk about chemistry to feel the effect. You only need to recognize the pattern. That familiar stiffness in your knees on a quiet Tuesday morning. The heavy fatigue that settles deep in your shoulders by early evening. The slow healing, when a minor bruise takes days instead of hours to fade. You blame it on the weather. On age. On pushing through too many busy weeks. And you are not entirely wrong. But the truth is, your body is quietly fighting a low-grade fire. One that keeps getting reignited, every single time you reheat those oily leftovers. When cooking oil is heated past its limit once, its natural structure weakens. When you heat it a second time, it breaks down into stubborn compounds that trigger a slow, repeating alarm, one your immune system was never meant to answer every single day. That response is normal in isolation. The problem is repetition. Eat it once, and your body clears it out. Eat it twice a week, 3 times a week, and that inflammatory signal never fully turns off. As we age, our natural clearance pathways slow down. What used to flush out in a day now lingers for 3, then 4, keeping your blood chemistry slightly out of balance while your digestive organs struggle to keep pace. Your pancreas sits right at the center of that chemical stress. Trying to filter the heavy load. Trying to keep producing the enzymes that hold your digestion steady. Over time, it does not just work harder. It starts to burn out. And the part most people never think to check, is not the food itself. It is what is sitting in the oil around it. If your cooking oil has already been used once, throw it out. That single habit quietly removes the hidden source that has been feeding that stiffness and draining your afternoons for longer than you realize. And if you want that familiar texture back without adding new stress, let a dry oven or an air fryer restore the warmth at a moderate temperature. Just enough to warm it through. Without forcing the oil to break down all over again. Now, the next item on this list is the very food you were told to eat more of, for years. It appears on every wellness list. It is praised in every nutrition guide. And it sits proudly in your fridge as quiet proof that you are eating right. Yet the moment you warm it up for leftovers, it quietly flips from protective to problematic. And what happens to its natural compounds during that second round of heat will completely change how you look at your most trusted meal prep habit. Before we move into the next part, if what you have heard so far is making sense of something you have been quietly wondering about, take just a second to like and share this video with someone who could use this kind of clarity. Your thoughts and questions genuinely matter to me, so drop a comment below and let me know what is resonating, or what you would like me to dig into further. I read everything you share, and if you want to make sure these sessions find their way to you without any searching, subscribe to the channel right now and hit that bell icon. That way, the next piece of the picture is always waiting for you. Now let us keep going, because what comes next is where it really starts to click. The next item on this list sits proudly in your fridge right now, looking like proof that you are finally doing everything right. Fresh spinach. Kale. Celery, cooked into a simple side dish, packed away for tomorrow, and warmed in the microwave the next day. It smells the same. It tastes the same. But under that familiar comfort, a quiet chemical shift has already happened. When these vegetables are cooked once, they hold naturally occurring compounds that are completely harmless. But when they sit in a closed container and meet heat a second time, those same compounds transform into a form your liver flags as a foreign threat. Your liver takes the first hit, working hard to filter it out. But it shares the exact same drainage pathways as your pancreas. Which means a liver under sudden cleanup pressure is a pancreas under pressure too. That indirect strain is exactly what builds up silently over weeks. And you have likely felt that pressure, without ever once connecting it to lunch. It shows up as that heavy bloating an hour after eating. It arrives as that brain fog that settles in right when you need to focus, reading the mail, trying to remember a name, or following what someone just said. It leaves you with that sudden energy dip that makes you feel sluggish, even though you ate exactly what the experts told you was healthy. You tell yourself it is just digestion slowing down. Maybe the natural result of getting older. But your body is quietly sorting through compounds it no longer recognizes as food. And sitting right next to those cooked greens is often a container of leftover rice, carrying a completely different, but equally quiet danger. Rice naturally holds tiny survival spores that standard cooking temperatures simply cannot destroy. They sit completely dormant while the pot cools on your counter. The moment the temperature drops into that comfortable room temperature range, they wake up. They multiply, quietly, in the hours before you even place the lid on. When you reheat that rice the next day, the microwave kills the live bacteria. But it leaves the toxin they already produced, completely untouched. That toxin survives the heat in full working order. It enters your system and triggers the exact same low-grade immune alarm that has been draining your afternoons. And because your gut and your pancreas share the same signaling routes, a quiet digestive upset travels straight to your pancreas, turning a simple meal into hours of heavy fatigue that makes you want to sit down, instead of staying active with the people you love. But you do not have to give these foods up. You only need to change when and how you warm them. For leafy greens, serve them fresh, or enjoy them cold straight from the fridge. Cooling stops the chemical shift entirely and keeps every nutrient perfectly intact. For rice, the rule is even simpler. Cool it fast by spreading it out wide, and refrigerate it within 1 hour. Reheat it once, until it is steaming hot all the way through, and finish the entire portion. Never let it sit out and warm a second time. That is the whole rule. That single rhythm removes the hidden burden and lets your body do exactly what it was always meant to do, without having to fight through lunch just to get there. What comes next has nothing to do with the food itself. It is the container you warm it in. And the invisible chemicals it releases the moment the microwave turns on, will completely change how you look at every quick, trusted meal you have relied on for years. That plastic container you reached for this morning is not as inert as it looks. The moment the microwave turns on and the temperature rises past a certain point, the walls begin to release microscopic compounds that drift straight into your food. You cannot see them. You cannot taste them. But your digestive system registers them immediately, as something it was never designed to process. And this is where the next habit quietly multiplies the problem. Creamy sauces. Cheesy casseroles. Heavy pasta dishes. Rich, dairy-based soups saved in the fridge and warmed the next day. These foods are incredibly sensitive to repeated heat. The moment they cross that second warmth threshold, their proteins separate, their fats oxidize faster, and they transform into a heavier digestive load, one that sits stubbornly in your stomach instead of moving through smoothly. Now imagine both happening at the same time. The chemical release from heated plastic, mixing with the heavy breakdown of reheated dairy. You might already recognize the result. That unpredictable tightness that arrives without warning. That sluggish heaviness that makes you want to lie down instead of taking your evening walk. That sudden mental fog that rolls in right when you need to stay sharp, for a phone call, for an important appointment, for a conversation you actually want to be present for. You chalk it up to a sensitive stomach. A long week. Getting older. But what you are actually feeling is your body trying to filter two separate burdens at once. Your liver steps in to sort through the chemical load. Your gut lining grows temporarily inflamed, trying to push the heavy fats along. And because your digestive tract takes that familiar route straight to your pancreas, that combined pressure travels directly to the one organ responsible for your daily balance. As we get older, our natural filtration does not bounce back as quickly. What used to clear out in a few hours now lingers into the next day, keeping your digestion slightly out of sync, and leaving you with that quiet, unexplained fatigue that makes ordinary days feel like something you have to manage, rather than simply live. But you do not have to stop making the comforting meals you rely on. You just need to separate how you store them from how you warm them. If you are heating anything with cream, cheese, or a heavy sauce, move it to a glass or ceramic dish first. Never let it meet heat inside plastic. Warm it gently, until it is just heated through. Never simmering. The moment you see movement in the liquid, it has already gone too far. That single shift removes the hidden chemical load entirely, and lets your digestive system process the meal without the extra cleanup work it was never meant to carry. Now that you know exactly which everyday choices have been quietly working against you, the question shifts. Not what to avoid, but how to move forward, without changing everything you depend on. Because this is not about turning your kitchen upside down. It is about giving you a simple, step-by-step rhythm that fits naturally into your actual day, starting with the very next time you open that fridge to prepare a meal. The most powerful shift does not ask you to change everything at once. It only asks you to make one different choice tonight. And the way that single choice protects your energy will be the exact reason you feel lighter by tomorrow morning. You do not need to remember every detail we covered today. You only need to carry one simple question into your kitchen from this moment forward. What if the heavy fatigue you have been calling normal aging was never about your body failing, but about your daily routine quietly asking too much of it? You do not have to overhaul your entire life. You do not have to throw out your favorite meals. You only need a quiet rhythm. One that protects your energy without taking away the comfort you rely on. Here is all it takes. When you warm leftover meats or grilled dishes, never let them brown again. Just bring them to a gentle warmth in a covered pan. When you save fried foods, throw the cooking oil out after one use, and restore the texture with dry heat instead. Keep your cooked greens cold, or eat them fresh. Cool your rice fast in a shallow dish, and only ever reheat it once, until it is steaming all the way through. And before anything creamy or dairy-rich meets the microwave, swap the plastic container for glass or ceramic first. That is the entire list. 5 small shifts. Each one takes less than 30 seconds to remember. But together, they protect your digestive balance, every single day. And here is the hopeful truth you need to hear clearly. Your body was never designed to carry this chemical load forever. The moment you remove the hidden stressors, your digestion stops spending its energy on damage control. And it starts doing what it was always meant to do. The quiet inflammation begins to settle. Your energy stops dipping, and starts holding steady again. And you will notice it first in the ordinary moments that used to feel like work. Reaching for the top shelf, without bracing your back. Walking through the park or down the grocery aisle, without needing to pause halfway. Staying fully present during dinner conversation, instead of drifting away from quiet exhaustion. That is what happens when your pancreas finally gets room to do its job, without interference. But you have to start tonight. Open your fridge. Look at what is waiting for tomorrow. And make one single swap before you close that door. Because the person who feels that lightness first is not a stranger. It is you, waking up with a little more steadiness in your steps, a little more clarity in your thoughts, and a little more time to enjoy the independence you have spent your whole life building. If even one thing you heard today gave you a clearer picture, or handed you one small, practical step you can actually take tomorrow morning, please like and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. A parent, a spouse, a neighbor, a friend who has been quietly struggling and does not yet know that a small, overlooked habit might be the missing piece. Your feedback means more than you know, so leave your thoughts or your questions in the comments below. I read every single one, and your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to see to take that very first step. If you want to stay connected and never miss what we uncover next, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. There is always another quiet pattern worth decoding together. Thank you for being here. Now take what you have learned today, and let it work for you.